Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are really excited that you've joined us today. We have a great presentation and demo in store for you. Just going to give everybody a few moments to come on in and get situated. So we'll just give everybody about 2 minutes and then we will get started. If you are just joining, welcome. Just going to give everybody 1 more minute to filter in and then we will get started. Thank you so much. Alrighty, looks like we are good to go. Again, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining. Really excited that you're here. If any questions do pop up during the presentation, please feel free to just drop those in the question box on the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will make sure to get those answered for you. And at this point, I am going to turn it over to our presenters.
Cool, thanks so much, Madison. Well, first off, just want to say hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar, where we'll be talking about how you can test your defenses against the infamous Turla malware. So it's a pleasure to have you here, and just want to start out by thanking you all really just for taking the time out of your busy days to come and listen in on this webinar. So as a quick introduction, my name is Andrew Costis. I'm the chapter lead of the adversary research team. I've been working at AttackIQ now for coming up 2.5 years, or possibly just slightly beyond 2.5 years actually. And I've been around for the last 23 years or so, covering all things to do with security, for example, reverse engineering malware, tracking and discovering new ransomware families and variants, threat hunting, and many, many other things. And it's with great pleasure I have my awesome work colleague, Jim Mason, on the call. So Jim, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello all, thank you, Andrew. I'm Jim Mason, Senior Sales Engineer with AttackIQ. I've been here over 2.5 years myself at this point. I've been in IT and security since 1990, covering everything from networking technologies that are no longer deployed up to and including what you'll see today, breach and attack simulation. Andrew, back to you.
Love it. Thanks, Jim. Alrighty. Well, before we dive in, just to kind of give you a quick rundown of the agenda and what's in store for you guys today. So we'll start off by covering some brief history and background regarding Turla, and then kind of moving into more of their threat intelligence profile, including some of their common tradecraft, aliases, and so on. I'll then talk about the Turla specific attack graph. Now, this is something that we created earlier this year, and I'll be covering at a fairly high level the various stages of that particular attack graph. And that will be kind of then a good segue into how we can not only emulate Turla using the attack graph, but the more kind of central topic of today is how we can actually emulate Turla using Flex. And that will be a good segue where I'll be handing over to Jim, who will be talking to you about how quickly and efficiently you can get up and running using the Turla Flex package using the new Flex product in the latter part of this talk. And then last off, Jim will cover off some really useful free resources that we'd love to share with you. And as Madison said, if we have time at the end, we'll be happy to answer any questions. So with that, let's dive in. So to understand Turla, let's take a quick high-level look at the organizational structure of the Russian intelligence services. And there's really at least three known main entities or units that kind of comprise the Russian intelligence services. So the first one is the FSB, or the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. So this is a successor to the KGB, and taken from their website, the FSB is a federal executive body with the authority to implement government policy in the national security of the Russian Federation, counterterrorism, the protection and defense of the state border of the Russian Federation, the protection of internal sea waters, the territorial sea, the exclusive economic zone, etc., etc. So they cover quite a broad range of kind of legislation around Russia, but they're also responsible for coordinating counterintelligence efforts of the federal executive bodies that have the power to do so. And this is where Turla very specifically falls into this particular unit. Then in yellow here, we have the Foreign Intelligence Service, or otherwise known as the SVR. So this is Russia's external foreign intelligence agency, who, according to CISA a while ago, primarily targets government networks, think tanks, and policy analysis organizations. So some examples of this shown here, APT29, Cozy Bear, and the Dukes. And last but not least, we then have the GRU. So the GRU is the main intelligence directorate, and they essentially solve problems in the military, political, military technical, economic, and environmental spheres. And some great examples of this would be APT28, Fancy Bear, and of course the infamous Sandworm. So let's move forward then. So why are we talking about Turla today? So as a quick recap, because obviously not all of you know, Turla is a highly sophisticated, politically motivated, state-sponsored adversary believed to be operating on behalf of the Federal Security Service, or as I mentioned, the FSB. So they've been active since at least 2007. Now there is some conflicting information out there. IBM states that they've actually cited Turla activity as early as 2004. And in fact, if you dig back even further, Kaspersky reported that a group called Moonlight Maze, which some of you may have heard of, are actually thought to be the authors of Turla. And according to several independent experts, this Moonlight Maze group were actually first observed as far back as 1996. That's before I even entered this space. So yeah, wherever they kind of originated from in terms of the timeline, they've clearly been around a long time. And you know, Turla have launched targeted activities against government entities, diplomatic organizations, military institutions, and other very high value targets worldwide, but primarily focused in Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia, but not limited to organizations in the Americas as well as the Asia Pacific regions. Now, another thing that Turla are known for is conducting long-running watering hole and spearfishing campaigns with the objective of stealing sensitive information, conducting surveillance, and maintaining long-term access to the victim's network for future operations and campaigns. So the adversary has been known to conduct surveillance attacks against embassies and other government organizations in order to collect this reconnaissance data that then can be used by Russia for both political and military gain, as well as decision making. And as a fun fact, the flags shown in this picture, either side of the Russian flags, which are probably quite obvious, but the ones in between the Russian flags are in fact of the logo of the FSB. So now let's talk about some of the aliases. So obviously they've been around for a long time, and this is not an exhausted list, but the main kind of names, as we know, we're talking about Turla, and that's kind of Kaspersky who kind of used that alias initially. But other names that they go by is Venomous Bear by CrowdStrike, Secret Blizzard or formerly Krypton by Microsoft, ITG-12 by IBM X-Force, Iron Hunter, Group 88, many others. The other ones I think are Waterbug by Symantec, Maker's Mark by ESET. I think there's a few others by Recorded Future and Bitdefender. But yes, they have lots of names. Even CERT Ukraine go by UAC 0024, Mandiant as well. So yeah, lots of different aliases. So lots of different campaigns and lots of different reportings by these various vendors over the years. So just to kind of summarize their threat profile. So as I've already mentioned, the origin is of course Russia, specifically Center 16 of the military unit 71330 of the FSB unit. They are of course state sponsored, and their motivation, as I said, are very military and politically driven. They have many target regions and nations. I've obviously mentioned a few of those already, and they have a very broad range of target industries as shown on this slide. So common tradecraft. So I kind of touched on a couple of these already. So I mentioned the first two. So they are known for running very sophisticated spear phishing campaigns, as well as water and hole campaigns and attacks as well. One thing they're also really well known for is using custom malware. So of course, Turla is malware in itself. You also have Snake, Uberus, if I've pronounced that correctly, Comrat, Tiny Turla, Quiet Canary, Andromeda, and lots of others as well. But yeah, they're very highly advanced and pretty much write their own malware rather than just using kind of off-the-shelf commodity malware. They like to be stealthy. They are known for using rootkits, which is one way of ensuring stealthiness. And they're also extremely persistent against their goals and objectives. They're also highly innovative, and they are ever evolving, and there really are no limits to their arsenal. And just as a couple of examples of Turla, they have been known in recent years to hijack botnets via USB drive using the Andromeda malware. They've also been known to infiltrate command and control infrastructure used by Iranian hackers. And in addition to that, they've also been able to successfully hijack satellite internet connections as well. So one might say they are probably one of the most elite hacking groups, potentially globally today and historically as well. And so this brings us to the attack graph that the adversary research team created earlier this year off the back of a cybersecurity advisory, or CSA as it's known, which was published by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, otherwise known as CISA, back in May of this year. So this CISA alert, alert code AA23129A, was released. And off the back of this, the adversary research team responded by creating what we call an attack graph, or otherwise could be known as an attack flow as well. So I won't go too deep into this, but just at a very high level, just want to talk about the four main stages of this attack graph. Now, in the first stage, a PNG file dropper is downloaded and written to the file system, which is in turn used to decrypt and load the Snake payload into memory. Now, then encrypted data is written to registry keys, which will then be accessed during later stages in order to load configuration settings. Now, the payload is then decoded from resources before being injected into a running process through reflective DLL injection. So that's the first stage. The second stage is more focused around persistence. So this next stage essentially creates a new service, and then once established, an initial C2 request is made to the group's infrastructure in order to register the newly infected victim host. Then essentially what happens is a series of discovery commands are run to learn more about the victim host, such as, for example, local host information discovery type commands, what software is installed, local network adapter information, as well as what running processes are available. Then The snake malware then uses Mimikatz to dump credentials and password hashes from the host, which can then later be used to expand their reach into the victim's network. So that completes the second stage. Then we move on to the third stage, which involves intercepting network traffic using the packetmon utility. It then discovers open ports to identify remotely accessible hosts. So common ports here that snake malware have been known to use is port 139 RPC, 445 SMB, and 3389 for remote desktop protocol, or RDP as well. They also then go on to use PowerView, which is used to enumerate details of the connected Active Directory domains and forests of the victim host. And then towards the end of this particular stage, it will then use named pipes to communicate between its user and system components. So this is in fact emulated through PowerShell, as well as a Windows service to then go and create, listen, and then send data over that named pipe. And last but not least, in the final stage, the snake injects a DLL into a running process and then validates if a canary file used by the malware can be created. Snake then compiles and then executes an executable using the native and trusted Windows csc.exe utility, otherwise known as a lolbin or a living off the land binary, which is a really common tactic used to evade detection. It then attempts to bundle a DLL with a Windows executable that is susceptible to DLL side loading in order to execute malicious code, and then files are then collected, stored in a temporary location, and then last but not least, at the very end of the lower right hand corner of this attack graph, files are then exfiltrated out via HTTP post requests back to the command and control server. Now, of course, not the actual command and control server, because that would be ludicrous, but all of this can be ran safely in production at scale. We're not actually sending sensitive files back to an actor controlled system, but of course we are emulating all of the exact same procedural level implementations of what Turla have been known to use. So up until recently, this attack graph has only been available for AttackIQ Enterprise customers, which, as I said, allows them to run this on any number of hosts for whatever the supported operating system is that the attack graph was originally written for. So in this case, Turla attack graph was written to run on Windows hosts. Now, up until recently, that's always been the case, but with the recent release of AttackIQ's Flex offering, we now have the ability to run this entire attack graph with zero configuration and without the need for installing an agent, which I personally think is pretty amazing. And with that, I think this is now the segue for you, Jim, to, for me to hand over to you, and you can talk more about Flex and the Turla Flex package. So let me stop sharing my screen and I will pass over to you.
Very good, AC. Thank you. So the AttackIQ Flex is the ultimate solution for granular enterprise-grade security validation. It has a convenient pay-as-you-go pricing model that's based on results. It puts you in control without the burden of recurring fees, or as AC mentioned, agents on machines in your environment. So how do you get started with AttackIQ Flex? It's actually easier than you might think. So first, you'll visit our website, attackiq.com, and if you search under products, click on AttackIQ Flex. And here you'll find all the information you need to make the most out of AttackIQ Flex. If you haven't requested a free AttackIQ Flex credits, and that's the currency for running the Flex packages and viewing the results, simply click on the Sign Up for Flex button there. Fill out the contact form, and soon after, you will receive an email with your unique AttackIQ Flex credit code. From there, you can click on Redeem Flex Credits, and this will take you to a form where you'll enter that unique AttackIQ code. Here, you'll also provide your first name, last name, create a password and confirm it. You'll also need to choose a subdomain and provide the necessary information. Once you do that, we will provision your personal AttackIQ Flex portal. Once you log in, you'll be presented with the home page. So at this home page, we have a Getting Started button. Very simple to get started with AttackIQ Flex. All you do is download a Flex package that you wish to execute from the Packages tab. I'll show you where that is in a bit. You'll run the Flex package on the endpoint that you wish to test. That will create an encrypted JSON file that you'll then upload to your Flex portal using the Analyze tab. Very simple to get going. Note also on this home page, we have some threat intelligence here. So you can learn about the latest and greatest, as AC was demonstrating a little earlier. To get started, click on the Packages tab, and you'll see here the Flex packages that are available. Note we have, beyond Turla, we also have some for testing endpoint antivirus controls, endpoint EDR controls. If you want to learn more about a particular package, simply click on View More, and you'll get a description of what this package entails, along with the underlying AttackIQ scenarios that will be executed as part of that given package. I'll show you how easy it is to get going with this. We'll scroll down and find Turla. So as you see here, these are the scenarios that are included in this package. All of this will run automatically, as you'll see in just a bit. You have an option to copy the link for a given package, and you can send that to a colleague, for example, that may not have access to your Flex portal. Or you can download the package directly. That package will download to your downloads folder. And now you'll have an executable that you can run. To execute it, simply double click. You'll be prompted with the option to run or cancel. Click Run. And automatically, AttackIQ Flex will unzip all the contents of the package, execute the scenarios that are part of the package, and create the JSON file. And that output looks similar to what you see here. To see your results in your Flex portal, click on Analyze. You can give the upload package file a name, and then click to upload. Select one of your files, open, and click Analyze. Flex will, at that point, begin analyzing the file. Once the analysis is complete, you'll have the option to then view the file by exercising your Flex credits. So as you can see, to view this particular result, we'll click on View 5 credits. The credit amount is what's required to actually view the results. You can run a Flex package as many times as you wish. Only when you choose to actually view a result are credits deducted from your remaining balance. We'll click Confirm there. And now you have the results of that package that you've run in the form of this emulation report. So Flex is all about actionable intel, and you can start with the executive summary. Here we'll provide a background, an overview of what the package entailed. You'll see your effectiveness score, along with the gamification component of Flex. So everyone that we know in the world that has run a particular package, we have the average score there. So that's indicated by that red line. And how you perform, and in this case, we perform pretty well. And so remember, with this type of threat emulation testing, you are testing the configuration of the security controls in your environment as they pertain to the device that you have run the package from. So it could be the EDR, for example, on the package or on the device itself. It could also be a downstream firewall, for example. So just note that you can go down, you can see the assessment scope. And then we get into the results summary. So with a package like this one that is based on a campaign, you want to stop the activity or the emulation as close to the beginning of the campaign as possible. So if we are able to stop this particular attack in stage 1, which AC shows you a little earlier, that is a very good thing. You definitely want to stop it somewhere. But if you stop it in stage 3, that's not quite as efficient and effective as stopping it earlier in the graph. We continue to scroll down. You'll see the testing methodology. So again, Flex is all about reporting and results, but questions will arise as to how this actually works. So we provide that. The user activation, the execution, activity on host, and most importantly, the post-test cleanup. One of the key differentiators with AttackIQ Flex is it is a dissolvable agent. So it is a way to test security controls from the perspective of an endpoint without having to leave a resident agent in perpetuity. And then we also provide results. And we'll scroll down a little further. Note that we do provide links to blogs and articles relating to, in this case, the Turla attack, along with the background. And even provide the graph that you saw a little earlier. And note, this is in a very compact form factor, not a 150-page report. We cover each of the steps in the report. And then lastly, a summary and emulation details. So note, if there are steps that you did not successfully stop, we'll also provide you with the remediation steps. So all of this in a very compact and easy to use vehicle that is AttackIQ Flex. So I'll provide some resources for you to get more information. We do provide AttackIQ assessments and attack graphs via the adversarial research teams portion of our site. You can subscribe to the research of our exemplary team at https://attackiq.com/research. And you also have many resources available on the AttackIQ site itself. So we provide a number of use cases and even books, ebooks, that you can use to learn more about not only Flex, but also breach and attack simulation or continuous security validation. And please feel free to join us at academy.attackiq.com. That is our way of giving back to the community. And so you have with Academy the ability to go in and for free learn about a number of different areas when it comes to purple teaming, MITRE attack, breach and attack simulation. You can earn Credly badges with this, and you can also earn CPEs. So we thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed this session. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our moderator.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thanks everyone for joining. Just going to give a minute to see if anyone has any questions that pop up in the chat. And then if not, we will end this, but we'll just hold for a minute. Not seeing anything popping up, but just want to remind you all that for joining today, you are going to get emailed 8 credits for Flex, so you can go out there and test it for yourself. We appreciate you joining today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.